Alright, so I know we've all been crash and burn lately with the recent Jurassic World movies, especially Dominion, as that was just a total dumpster fire. But now Universal has brought in Gareth Edwards, who previously directed The Creator, Rogue One, and Godzilla, and this might have been their best decision yet.
Come on, run!
So just like everyone else, the first Jurassic Park movie is one of my favorite films of all time. It's a Steven Spielberg masterpiece. I could watch it 5 times in one year and never get bored of it. And it will never be replicated as much as Universal keeps trying to. But I did find some enjoyment in the Lost World movie and the first Jurassic World movie a decent bit. I think it's a fun time. But then things, of course, went downhill with Fallen Kingdom just being really average. It's kind of forgettable. And then Dominion, as I said, being really bad. But now I'm shocking myself saying this, but I think that Jurassic World Rebirth might be the best one since the original Jurassic Park. And I myself am very happy. I was so excited when this movie ended, and I cannot wait to see it again when it officially releases in theaters. I gotta tell you, buy your tickets for this one. It is a true summer blockbuster. Let me get this out of the way first. I go into these movies knowing and expecting that it isn't going to be some masterpiece. It isn't going to be some Oscar movie, because you cannot replicate that masterpiece of what their first Jurassic Park movie is. And I know the script isn't going to be Oscar worthy. I know it's not going to win Best Adapted Screenplay or whatever. I just hope going into these movies that it's going to be a fun time with scary dinosaurs that walk around these big islands that eat people in the most ridiculous ways possible, and people die in the oddest ways possible. And I would say that Rebirth captures what I wanted in an immense way. And Rebirth is just a spectacle in more ways than one. And I'm so happy that Gareth Edwards has delivered once again for me, as I really do like all of his movies that he's made so far. I really hope that this movie makes a lot of money, because Dominion made a lot of money and that movie was trash. And I want Gareth Edwards to come back for a sequel, because his direction here is so great. It makes this movie feel as it should be, which is a true summer blockbuster. As I said, it's a fan spectacle. It has that true 90s Jurassic Park look and feel to it. And the best thing that he did with this movie was bring back the horror to this franchise, as it was lacking in the last few. You know, Jurassic Park, the OG, has some great horror, tension-filled moments. The Lost World has some great moments too with the cliff scene. But then the Jurassic World movies, the horror is kind of lacking. There's some scenes, but not as many as I'd want. But there are some seriously tense scenes in here that had me very nervous for these characters. And I was so happy with what Gareth Edwards did with this movie, man. He did such an amazing job. The look of this movie is actually quite unique and impressive, as Gareth wanted to shoot this movie on Kodak film instead of digital cameras, which gives it, you know, that nice film grain look and film shine, and it made everything, especially the colors, really pop out to the audience. You do have to get used to it for a little bit, because at points when you're watching the movie, it kind of looks like you're watching it in 3D without 3D glasses. But I think that it's just because we're used to watching like 95% of the movies in cinemas shot in digital cameras compared to film cameras. I know a couple movies have been released this year on film, especially Sinners. Christopher Nolan still shoots on IMAX film cameras, but you know, Kodak film cameras are still a big part of today's world, and some directors still shoot with it, and Gareth is shooting with it on this one, and I think it just looks amazing. The digital effects really blend in this movie. The dinosaurs on the film with the film grain and everything just looks spectacular. It just delivers something that you don't really see these days. It really just looked like an authentic theater experience. I do have some flaws though, because this isn't a perfect movie. And I'd say my biggest flaw is that this kind of suffers from being like the first movie in a new Jurassic World trilogy, if they're going to go down that route. And that's because you're introducing a lot of new characters here. So the first act is relatively really slow compared to the rest of the movie. First 30 minutes is kind of all set up to these characters that I didn't really end up caring about. To be honest, I don't really care about all the other Jurassic Park or movie characters outside the first one. So that first act is kind of slow, but I will recommend to stick with it, because once you get past that first act, it gets really, really good. I'm interested to see how that first act is on a second watch. Maybe I won't mind it a little too much, because I'll know the characters. but just be prepared. It is a little bit slower because they have to introduce all these new people and the new world again. I'm also not sure how I felt about the ending of the movie. It ends it at a pretty nice place, but I wish there was a little bit more setup for a sequel. I think Universal did that because they didn't know if they're gonna, bring these characters back, these actors back for another one. But I do wish it had a better tease at the end. But it ends nicely if you're just looking for a one and done type of movie. But me myself, I would have wanted a nice sequel kind of tease at the end, especially a horror one. Now for my main positives, I'm going to say Alejandro Desplat's score is really great. Some of the best stuff in this series in my eyes. He's of course using some of the OG material, which I love to hear. It never gets old to hear that, OG Jurassic Park. It never gets old for me, but he does of course make some new music, and I thought it was really nice. Probably something that a lot of people aren't going to talk about in their reviews is the scale of the dinosaurs here. I thought they were scaled so great compared to the other characters here. I don't know, it just felt different. It looked different compared to the other Jurassic World movies. The Jurassic World movies kind of made these dinosaurs look smaller than they should have been compared to the original Jurassic Park. This one though, you have huge dinosaurs. I mean, humongous dinosaurs. It sucks that this wasn't filmed on IMAX and isn't getting an IMAX release because it would have looked great in IMAX ratio. But these dinosaurs are massive compared to the humans. At one scene, they're standing, one of the characters is standing right beside one of the really tall ones with the long necks, and he's only like 4 feet of his the dinosaur's kind of leg. It's so impressive to see the true scale of these dinosaurs. And I know a lot of people won't be talking about that, but that is something that I was really looking forward to, and I loved how they were scaled. And we have to talk about the T-Rex Raft sequence from the original Jurassic Park book. This is one of the best scenes from the trailer, and it's one of the best scenes in the movie. I loved how well done this was. It's tense, it's anxiety inducing. The T-Rex is massive. There's one kind of shot in the movie where this little girl is on the raft and she's looking back at the T-Rex, and it just is so high up and so far back, but you can still see that huge dinosaur scale. I was like, this guy's scary, man. You got to get away from this T-Rex, man. It is such a great sequence, one of my favorite sequences of the year so far. And I've actually never read the book, but I know a lot of people love the sequence from the book. So if you love that sequence from the book, you're going to have a great time watching it in the theater. And without spoiling anything, the third act is just immense fun, as I said, and very horrifying because you get a creature called the D-Rex coming in, and he does some crazy stuff. He's scary to look at. He's mutated in some of the best ways possible. Just be ready for that third act because it is so great. I really liked all the cast members here, especially Scarlett Johansson. She's probably my favorite part of the movie. And Johnathan Bailey was also great. Mahershala Ali, loved him in this one. When is he going to be playing Blade? Who knows, but he's a true badass here. If we ever do get a sequel, please bring this trio back. They were great. I loved them in this movie compared to, some of the other people that we've had. In the other Jurassic World movies, I thought this trio really lit up the screen. Overall, Jurassic World Rebirth is probably my favorite Jurassic movie since the original, all the way back in 1993. Gareth Edwards truly needs to come back for a sequel, as he has brought the spectacle and the horror back to this franchise. Also, the look of this movie is beautiful, and it being shot on film was one of the best things about it. The dinosaur action takes a little bit to get going, but once it does, it feels like a true video game and theme park adventure. The third act is just so much fun and full of some tense and horrifying moments, and I already know that this July is going to be awesome, as this is the true meaning of what a summer blockbuster should be. I'm going to give Jurassic World Rebirth a low 8 out of 10. I hope you guys did enjoy this review. If you did, make sure you do leave a like, as it helps out a lot. And also, if you ended up seeing Jurassic World Rebirth, leave your own thoughts down below. And also, leave your own Jurassic ranking down below. I'd love to see what your favorite one is out of all of them. But I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.